You did everything right. You saved, you invested, you stayed disciplined for decades. And now you're told just to pull 4% and hope for the best. The most popular withdrawal rule in the world was built on assumptions from the 1990s. And if you follow it without adjusting, you may end up spending too little and leaving money on the table or pulling too much when markets drop. The 4% rule sounds simple. That's the problem. Today, I'm going to show you why the 4% rule breaks down in real retirement, and I'm going to walk you through what I call the retirement guardrails framework. It's the approach I actually use with clients, and it addresses one of the key limitations of the 4% rule. It doesn't adjust. By the end of this video, you'll understand the four components of the framework, and one of them, the one most people overlook, may be the most important decision you make in the first 5 years of retirement. If you're within 10 years of retirement or you've already retired and you're wondering whether your withdrawal rate is actually sustainable, this is worth understanding because the answer isn't a fixed number, it's a system. Let's start with what the 4% rule actually says, because most people get this entirely wrong. In 1994, a financial planner named Bill Bengen ran a study. He looked at historical market returns and found that if you withdrew 4% of your portfolio in year one and adjusted for inflation every year after that, your money would have survived every 30-year period in US history. That's it. That's the whole rule. Here's the problem. That study was designed to find the worst case scenario, the lowest safe starting point. It wasn't designed to be your actual plan. And yet, that's how most people use it. They take 4%, adjust for inflation, and never look back. That's not a strategy, that's autopilot. Retirement isn't a set it and forget it problem. Markets change, tax laws change, your spending changes, your health changes. And if you're someone who's been running your own numbers in a tool like Bolden or a spreadsheet, you already know this. The projections look different every time you check. What's often missing isn't more data, it's decision-making framework. What tends to work better is a system that responds to what's actually happening, not one that assumes the future looks like the past. Here's how the guardrails approach works. There are four key components. Component number one, your initial withdrawal rate. You still start with a number. Maybe it's 4%, might be 5%, it might be 3.5%. That depends on your age, your portfolio, your other income sources. But unlike the 4% rule, this number isn't permanent. It's a starting point, not a life sentence. Component number two, the upper guardrail. This is the ceiling if your withdrawal rate climbs above a certain threshold. Say, for instance, 6%. That's a signal. It means the market has dropped and your spending is now pulling too much from your portfolio relative to what's left. When you hit the upper guardrail, you make a small adjustment, not a panic move, a planned, modest reduction. Maybe you pull back discretionary spending by 10%. That's it. Component three, the lower guardrail. This is the floor. If your withdrawal rate drops below a certain threshold, say 3%, that means your portfolio has grown and you're actually spending less than you could afford. This is where many retirees get stuck. They never give themselves a raise. A guardrail system can signal when it may be reasonable to spend more, and that's a powerful shift in how you think about retirement income. Component four, the decision rules. Here's what makes guardrails powerful. It's a system, not a guess. You check your withdrawal rate maybe once a year. If you're inside the guardrails, you change nothing. If you've drifted outside, you make a specific predefined adjustment. No emotional decisions, no panic selling, no guilt about spending, just clear, structured rules that adapt as your life unfolds. Now, let me show you what the retirement guardrails framework actually looks like with real numbers. Let's walk through a hypothetical example to illustrate how two approaches play out differently. Say two people both retire at 65 with 2 million. Person A uses the 4% rule. They withdraw 80,000 a year and increase by 3% for inflation every year. No matter what the market does, they pull the same inflation adjusted amount. Person B uses the guardrails approach. Same starting withdrawal, $80,000, but they've set an upper guardrail at 5.5% and a lower guardrail at 3.5%. They check once a year and make small adjustments when needed. Now, let's say in year 3, the market drops 25%. Person A doesn't change anything. They're still pulling $85,000, which is now 5.7% of their reduced portfolio. That's a withdrawal rate that could compound risk over time. And without a system to flag it, they may not recognize the issue early enough. Person B sees their withdrawal rate has crossed 5.5%. They make a modest cut, reduce discretionary spending by about 10%. They pull $76,500 instead. It's a small adjustment, but it can help protect the portfolio during the recovery window. Now, let's say by year 8, the market has recovered and then some. Person B's withdrawal rate has dropped to 3.2%. The system signals it may be reasonable to increase spending. So they do. They take a trip, they help a grandchild with school. Person A, they're still on autopilot. They might actually be underspending, but they have no system to tell them that. Now, this is a simplified example, but the difference it illustrates isn't just financial, it's psychological. The first 5 to 10 years of retirement are where mistakes are hardest to recover from. Person B has a process for navigating that window. They have a framework for what to do when markets drop and when markets rise. Person A is more likely to be guessing or reacting emotionally. Here's where people get this wrong. Mistake 1, treating the 4% rule as a plan. It's a research finding, not a strategy. It tells you what historically survived. It doesn't tell you what to do when things change. Mistake 2, never adjusting. The whole point of guardrails is that you respond to reality. If you set them up and never check, you're back to autopilot. Mistake 3, making it too complicated. This doesn't require checking your portfolio every day or setting up 14 different thresholds. A simple annual check-in with clear decision rules is often all it takes. Mistake 4, ignoring the lower guardrail. Most people only think about protecting against running out, but the risk of spending too little, of never enjoying what you've built, is just as real. Now, here's the part most people miss. Guardrails don't work in isolation. They work when income and taxes and investments are all coordinated. Your withdrawal rate doesn't just depend on the market. It depends on which accounts you're pulling from. IRA, Roth, taxable, and in what order. It depends on whether you're managing tax brackets year to year. It depends on when you start Social Security. The guardrails framework tells you how much to take, but the rest of the system, the withdrawal sequencing, the Roth conversion strategy, the tax bracket management, that's what determines where it comes from and how it's taxed. That's the difference between a rule of thumb and a real plan, one where income, taxes, and investments work together as a coordinated system. This video is part of a series on building a retirement income system. So if you found this video helpful, subscribe, comment, ask me questions, and give it a like if you want more videos just like this. And if you want to check out my other retirement income videos, just go to my profile. If you want to see how guardrails would actually apply to your specific situation, your portfolio, your tax picture, your timeline, you can learn more at secondactplan.com. I'll see you in the next video.